I'd like to call to order the City of Douglasville's legislative work session for today, which is May the 31st. So welcome. And we will have our Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem, but before that we'll have the invocation by Reverend LaSonja Richardson of Love Christian Center. Please stand for the invocation. Thank you.
Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we give thanks for our city government. We hold up in prayer before you the men and women who are in positions of authority. We pray and intercede for the mayor, the city council, the policemen, and the policewomen, as well as the city staff and for all those who are in authority over us in any way. We pray that the Spirit of the Lord rest upon them. We believe that skillful and godly wisdom has entered into the heart of our mayor and city council members, and knowledge is pleasant to them. Discretion watches over them, understanding keeps them, and delivers them from the way of evil and from evil men. Father, we ask that you compass the mayor about with men and women who make their hearts and ears attentive to godly counsel and do that which is right in your sight. We believe you to cause our leaders to be men and women of integrity who are obedient concerning us, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. We pray that the upright shall dwell in our government, that men and women, blameless and complete in your sight, shall remain in these positions of authority, but the wicked shall be cut off from our government, and the treacherous shall be rooted out of it. Your word declares that blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. We receive your blessing, Father. You are our refuge and stronghold in times of trouble. So we declare with our mouths that your people dwell safely in this city, and we prosper abundantly. We are more than conquerors through Christ Jesus. We believe the heart of our leaders are in your hand, and that their decisions are divinely directed of the Lord. We give thanks unto you that the good news of the gospel is published in our land. The word of the Lord prevails and grows mightily in the hearts and lives of the people. We give thanks for this city and the leaders you have given to us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem Siegel, for leading us in invocation, and Reverend Richardson, thank you so much for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation and for your service as we just celebrated Memorial Day. So we'll move on with the agenda. We don't have any announcements or presentations, but I will go over the protocol for the meeting. I'd like to welcome you again to the City of Douglasville's legislative work session. This is a work session where agenda items are presented for discussion and no official action will be taken tonight. Official action will be taken on these items discussed tonight on Monday. If the business you are here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item, comments from citizens and delegates section to discuss your business. There are just a few protocol items I'd like to make you aware of. I'd ask that you keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, as you always do, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make their decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You'll receive a warning from the chair. If you deviate from this requirement, a second deviation will result in a request for you to leave the chambers in the premises for the evening. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers. And I'll remind you that we are only required to accept public comments on zoning matters. The agenda items will be handled as follows. The committee chairperson or vice chair will read the agenda item. Then the person representing the agenda item or the applicant will make his or her presentation first, and that will be the only opportunity for them to present the information. Then myself and council members will possibly ask questions for clarity to help us understand the issue. After that, the committee chair will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There is a maximum time of 30 minutes for those who are in favor of the agenda item and 30 minutes for those who are in opposition. And each person that would like to speak within that 30-minute time frame has 5 minutes to speak. I ask you to fill out one of the sheets that's at the door, then provide that information to our city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker. When you come to the podium, please give us your name and address for the record so that we'll have that on file. And this is not a question and answer format or a debate format. We're just here to gather information. So that is it. Now we'll move on with our printed agenda, which you should have received outside on the table if you'd like to have one. If not, you can follow on the screen. So the first committee is Public Safety, and that's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am. No business at this time, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my councilman. We'll move on to Public Community and Economic Development Committee, and that's chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Richard Siegel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have two items. First is to appoint an individual to serve as the Post 1 member of the Development Authority of the City of Douglasville for a term expiring July 23rd, 2022. And I see our Assistant City Manager coming up to the podium.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Chelsea Jackson, Assistant City Manager, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. Before you, on your attachments, you have 4 attachments. The first one is a memo stating that you have one vacancy available for Post 1 with the term expiring on July 23rd, 2022, and it's a 4-year term. You have 3 individuals that you have previously interviewed, and they are all interested in being appointed to this position. On Monday night, I will have a ballot for you all. Are there any questions?
No, it doesn't sound like it. All right. Next item is to authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding and a trademark sublicense agreement with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to maintain the city's accreditation in DCA's Main Street program. And I see our Main Street manager working her way down the aisle up to the podium.
April McCown, 6695 Church Street.
Hey, Miss April.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you have any questions about the agenda item? As far as the MOU is concerned, this is something that we do annually. We sign this document, and essentially it gives us our accreditation both nationally and locally within Georgia Main Street. You'll also see a sub-licensing agreement, and that allows us to use the local and the national logos on all of our marketing materials.
Comments or questions from Mayor and Council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Miss April, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Could you just explain for our viewing audience what Main Street is? And I think the logo this year or the theme is cities something, if you just can tell us. I know we've been a Main Street city for many years.
Yes, since 2001, we get our accreditation every single year. So essentially what the accreditation is it's a combination of 12 different reports that we do throughout the year. We do these monthly reports. It consists of volunteer hours, event attendance, as well as any type of economic impact that we see within our downtown. So businesses leaving, businesses coming in, and different types of businesses that are coming in. And then as far as Main Street is concerned, it's a 4-point approach. So organization, promotion, design, and economic vitality. And this is kind of a proven approach nationally that we have seen to be something that really works for downtowns. So as far as Main Street program is concerned, it is about revitalization of downtown, promotion of downtown, and ensuring that we always have a healthy downtown, because as you all know, through different training opportunities, if we don't have a very vibrant core, then our rest of our city and our county suffers. So that's our general focus.
Very good. And some of the programs, Food Truck Mondays. And
yeah, Food Truck Mondays, Ultimate Block Party, the ice cream social that we do every single year, as well as the kind of partnership within the city to do the Christmas parade and tree lighting ceremony. We do those kind of events every single year.
4th of July.
And there is a Food Truck Monday coming up.
Yes, this
June 4th.
Monday. Yes, please. I hope to see all of you guys in attendance. We have some amazing food trucks coming out. A couple of my favorites, of course. But I know we have a lot of food trucks coming out, and I know a lot of people are excited about that. So I appreciate the council's opportunity to do that, as well as the mayor.
And you recently made a presentation to the Department of Community Affairs.
Yes.
Your annual presentation. And if people wanted to see that presentation, might there be a video available online?
There
where
is.
it's
Thank
discussed?
you for, yes, absolutely. We had a annual, which is a community assessment presentation. We went to the Department of Community Affairs, and we presented to the Georgia Main Street program. We did receive our accreditation, which is fabulous. And then as far as the presentation is concerned, you can view an overview, myself and our Downtown Development Authority Director, as well as our Economic Development Manager, Patrice Williams. We both kind of went over the presentation. You can view that on the City of Douglasville website, as well as the City of Douglasville YouTube page, as well as our Facebook page.
Any other comments or questions from Mayor and Council? Thank you, Ms. McCown.
Great, thank you.
If there's no objection, I'd like to put this on the consent agenda for Monday. No other items, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Ms. April. We appreciate you. You did a dissertation on that one. That was great. We'll move on to Planning and Development Committee. The Vice Chair is Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
Welcome.
3 items tonight under Planning and Development. I'd like to read the first 2 items in succession because they're related to each other.
Yes, sir.
That way we can allow for explanation and commentary on
Okay.
2 of them relative to the 2 items. First is item 22-18-46, which was tabled from May 21st, 2018. That is adopt an ordinance to enact Section 3.04 of Appendix A, Zoning Code Ordinance of the Code of the City of Douglasville, to impose restrictions on special land uses in the IH Heavy Industrial District, to amend subsection 5.06.02 to provide additional standards for considerations of special land use permits, to amend Table 2-1 of Section 2.05 of said ordinance to revise permitted and special uses for certain principal uses, and to omit certain usages from that chart. To reword the title for Article 3, Division 2, and to assign Section 361 to that division, and to enact Section 353 requiring a distance of 3,000 feet between lots used for quarries and mining. Everybody got that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Item B, which is an alternative to item 22-18-46, and that is item 22-18-48, which was tabled from May 21st, 2018, refer to the Zoning Board a proposed ordinance to enact Section 3.04 of Appendix A, the Zoning Code Ordinance of the Code of the City of Douglasville, to impose restrictions on special land uses in the IH Heavy Industrial District, to amend subsection 5.06.02 to provide additional standards for considerations of special land use permits, to amend Table 2-1 of Section 2.05 of said ordinance to revise permitted and special uses for certain principal uses, and to omit certain uses from that chart, and to reword the title for Article 3, Division 2, and to assign Section 3.61 to that division. All right. That was easy enough.
Yes, sir. Lots of reading.
He's hoarse. Okay. We have somebody here to
Is our planning or
our
Ms. Littlefield?
city attorney will explain.
Okay.
Vice Chairman, that's a city application, and the first item has already been, excuse me, to zoning board, and you have already held your public hearing for it. I can go through it in more detail, but I think I'll shorten it and just refresh you from 10 days ago. The first version creates certain defined distances that must happen between a special use in an IH district and other kinds of uses such as water wells and quarries, and requires any such use to be on the truck route in order to be approved. Section 2 creates more detailed considerations for IH special uses than the ones that are already in your ordinance. Sections 3, 4, 5, and 6 change the SLUPs for certain special uses to create some special uses that were permitted uses before. Country clubs would no longer be a special use within the heavy industrial, and neither would golf courses. Certain uses have been removed from the chart because they're covered elsewhere better, or because WSA provides our water and sewer within Douglasville. There is a housekeeping matter to reassign one section to a different division, and then at the end, a distance requirement between quarries and mining operations.
Thank you. Ms. Littlefield, do we have any comments or issues from the city council members? From the mayor? Okay. Being that this is not a public hearing, we don't have to abide by the rules of public hearing, but we will abide by the rules that Madam Mayor had laid out. So for anybody who would like to comment from the public, you will be, as she had noted, you'll be restricted to 5 minutes and a combined time of 30 minutes for each side of the argument, pro and con. Please keep any and all comments germane to this particular issue, which is the code revisions, not anything else or any prior issues that may be distantly related, but specifically to the code itself. So we will open the floor to anybody who would like to make, I guess, we'll start with anti-comments, I guess. Does it matter which side we start
Whatever
with?
you want to, it's up to you, your
Okay,
discretion.
we'll start with those who are against the potential changes in the ordinance would like to speak first. We'll go ahead.
Madam Mayor, council members, Charles DePriest, 5823 Sarazen Trail, Douglasville, Georgia. Just a couple of quick points that I would like to discuss before I yield the rest of my time to our attorney, Mr. Dillard. And two things, mainly just some definitions here for you to consider. And number one, first definition that I'd like to talk to you about is what a fact is, okay? A fact is a statement that is consistent with reality or can be proven with evidence. The usual test for a statement of fact is verifiability. That is whether or not it can be demonstrated to correspond to experience. In other words, tests are completed to prove a fact. What we're going to hear tonight are a bunch of facts or supposed facts that come from stuff that you find on the internet. The internet contains information. If you're for something, you can find all the information you want for something. If you're against something, likewise, find all the information that you want to be against something. I would submit to you that if you really wanted to determine if CAT really spelled dog, you could probably prove that somehow on the internet. Okay? The next word that I would like to give a definition for is expert. An expert is a person who has a comprehensive and authoritative knowledge of or a skill in a particular area. So I've been to several of these meetings, and not once have I heard an expert in opposition speak. Not one expert. Wikipedia actually defines it. An expert is a person with extensive knowledge or ability based on research, experience, or occupation in a particular area of study. So those are just two quick words that I wanted to go over. Hopefully tonight we may hear on the opposition side some facts, and they hopefully will be presented by some experts. I yield my time to Mr. Doug Dillard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Just a point of order. Let me understand what we're doing here. We've had a hearing on the original ordinance that was proposed. You have on your agenda both that ordinance and the alternative ordinance. So I guess my question is, to what extent has the alternative been advertised properly for hearing and decision next Monday?
Mr. Dillard, we changed the wording to refer it to the zoning board so it can have a public hearing and advertisement. It won't be voted on tonight if they desire to do the alternative.
But it could be voted on Monday night.
could be voted on Monday night to send it to the zoning board for public
Okay,
hearing.
and that was what was confusing, because the agenda item says you're gonna send it to the zoning board. And that's what I understood was gonna happen as a result of our last meeting. I haven't gotten the alternative ordinance until today. And it's only when we discovered that it was on the agenda for tonight, I thought it was being sent to the zoning board. So, let me understand. We're having a public hearing tonight to consider both the original ordinance and the alternative. If you want to hear the alternative, you need to send it back to the zoning board. So you can't vote on the alternative. Really, the only one that you could vote on was the one that's already been heard and advertised, which is the original ordinance. Is that right, Joel? Right.
Council wants to consider alternative B, it would have to be referred to the zoning board by a vote of the council and then properly advertised.
And that's where my confusion came in, because I thought that's what was going on. And wasn't until earlier today we found out that they were both still on the agenda. So the original ordinance can certainly be voted on Monday night. I'm going to argue in favor of sending the alternative back to the board of zoning board to give you the opportunity to look at all these different issues, because as I pointed out in my letter, which I have handed out to you guys, and I'm not going to go back through all that the distances that were proposed in that ordinance are totally out of line and ridiculous. The State Mining Act has 100 to 500 foot minimums. There's no 3,000 foot or 5,000 square foot, or linear feet deal. And there's no factual basis for it. I mean, I know you've heard from those who are proponents of the ordinance. They'd like for it to be 5 miles probably rather than 5,000 feet, because they don't want these kind of uses, period. But in the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare, you got to balance the equities between our right to use our property and your obligation to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And I'm going to tell you right now that I've tried a lot of these cases, and I can show you situations where property values, dust, air, light, noise, traffic can all be handled adequately, and they don't need a 3,000 to 5,000 foot linear separation. The other side of it is this: is that in reading the alternative, I think it has a step in the right direction, in that you're not targeting, and I mean, we have felt like this whole process has been targeting to eliminate the quarry use on our property. And I think that it was a step in the right direction that you've taken those provisions out. Whether 100 feet is reasonable or not is something that I think we can vet out in the process. I have done quarries where we've had 100-foot buffers with a berm and significant material on top of it, et cetera. And to my knowledge, these are operating quite well in accordance with being good community citizens. And there's a compromise there. We've not been given an opportunity to discuss that. And I think that as a property owner, we always want to try to cooperate with the local government. We want to cooperate with the neighborhood to the extent they want to talk. But at the same time, we've been so far apart in this situation that there really hadn't been any discussion. So we are still very much opposed to the original ordinance. We think the alternative is a step in the right direction. I'll be honest with you, I just got it today. Michelle just sent it to me today. I'm not going to blame her for it. I'm going to blame myself, because I really didn't think it was going to be on an agenda tonight until we found out this morning. So I thought we had time between the next zoning board to vet out these issues. So I take blame for that. But the other side of it is we have not had an opportunity to really look at this alternative. And I think the alternative is a step in the right direction. I think the original ordinance is obtrusive. It's overbearing. It's a taking of a variable property right. There's no way that our use or the other uses that were contemplated in the heavy industrial district can satisfy in the city of Douglasville a 3,000 to 5,000 foot separation. That's not possible. And I think that's what the proponents of the ordinance knew. This ordinance was drawn not by you or your staff, but was drawn by Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Shipley and Ms. Henderson. I think that's an unlawful delegation of legislative authority, which we went through before. Like I said, I've known Mr. Jenkins a long time. We've tried a lot of cases against each other. It's not the first time we've disagreed. But at the same time, I think the distances that are suggested in the original ordinance are opprobrious, and they're punishment to this property owner. And they're taking, in the long run, they're taking a $75 to $100 million asset from them that's not only a benefit to them, but could and should, in the long run, be a benefit to the city. We're talking about jobs. We're talking about tax revenue. We're talking about sales tax. We're talking about a lot of things that could be a benefit to the city long term. And working together, I know we could sit down and try to work out a situation where we can coexist nicely. And that's always been our objective. If we got to fight, we got to fight. But that's not what we're looking for. The last place in the world we want to be is the courtroom. But if we have to go there, that's where we'll be. But I would ask that you defer any further consideration of this ordinance until the zoning board's had a chance to look at the alternative, and until, working with the city council, we sit down and see if these distances can be worked out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dillard. Do we have any other members of the audience who would like to speak on in opposition to either of the read ordinances? Hearing none at this time. Anybody who would like to speak in favor of the ordinances as read?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Teresa Knowles. I live at 1799 South Flat Rock Road, Douglasville, Georgia. Also, I just wanted to say that I'm retired from the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, and the city of Douglasville's boundaries are so irregular. It just seems so simple for the city and the county to align their ordinances to be very similar, because they overlap in so many places, or almost overlap. And I'd like to donate my remaining time to Curtis Shipley.
Madam Mayor, council members, I'm John Foran. I live at 6601 Cedar Mountain Road, Douglasville, Georgia. And I'd like to donate my time to Mr. Curtis Shipley as well.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Chairman, council members, my name's Curtis Shipley. I live at 1122 Doris Road, Douglasville, Georgia. I'm sure y'all are not glad to see me again. I don't want to be here again, but here we are. So I'd like to start tonight by trying to clear up something. I know that we've had a great deal of confusion, and I think it's really important before we get down to a vote on this issue that we know exactly. There's been confusion about who drafted these, where they came from, when they were presented, a lot of issues there. In order to get a fair vote, I believe we're going to have to clear up those issues. And so I want to just briefly run through exactly what happened. As always, you have the opportunity to ask questions from me, from the staff, whoever you need to, but I'd love for y'all to be clear in your minds how this all came about. Let's go back to the beginning. After the original lawsuit against the city by Mr. Boyd and Mr. Blankenship was voluntarily withdrawn, this was in November of last year, Frank Jenkins, at the request of our citizens, drafted the language for a modern set of guidelines for zoning regulation concerning the special land use permits. We received this draft on December the 11th of last year, 17. December the 14th, Ms. Johnson and I met with Devon Hooper, Michelle Wright, and 3 representatives from Jacobs Consulting, including Mr. Aaron Ruffin, who had been contracted, as you know, by the city to rewrite the city's zoning and development ordinances. This is the only time when we handed those drafts to them, this is the only time that we, the citizens, had any contact with these proposals, as drafted by Mr. Jenkins. As you know, at this time, there was no ongoing litigation. There was no applicant. There was no applicant for more than 90 days after that. Now, we do know that Mr. Jenkins' original language was modified. We know that. And while I can't ask the question, certainly one of you could if you wished, your staff would know where those modifications came from and who did them. That question can be asked and answered. But again, I just want to be perfectly clear to everybody. I have had absolutely no input on this rewording at all. Moving forward. Just real quickly, you know the rest of it. On December 18th, the city voted to unanimously to adopt a moratorium while considering these. On 3/20, the 90-day moratorium ended without any action, as far as we can tell. The day after that, 3/21, a special land use application, as you know, for mining and quarrying was submitted by Mr. Boyd. On 3/29, the staff announced that that application had been rejected by the city administrative officials because of mistakes. That same night, the city again voted to put a moratorium back on, another 90-day moratorium. And then on 4/2, the voting night, they voted unanimously to send that language to the city zoning and planning board for their consideration. On 5/8, they did consider it. They voted 3-1 that they liked it and sent it back to the city council for adoption. On 5/17, when the the city council again considers this, that's kind of when everything got confused. The next Monday, when was a voting night there, that's when it was tabled rather than voted on. And I feel like that confusion was part of the problem. So that brings us back to where we are now. And again, anybody has any questions, please find out before you vote how this came about. Let me continue by saying that whoever drafted the alternate plan certainly has not listened to the testimony of the many citizens who have described the hardships imposed upon them by the existing quarry. Now, I didn't measure this room. It's probably 60, 70 feet, I'm guessing at that. But a 100-foot buffer, can you imagine trying to run this meeting with a blasting operation or a rock crusher out in the hallway somewhere 100 feet back? It's a silly idea. It's just not a workable solution. We heard testimony last week from some of the residents in the Hamrick Lake subdivision. They talked about the shaking of the houses, the noise, the dust, all the typical issues that you've heard about before that we know that exist with this type of operation. You've heard the testimony from Joe Yates and many others who have endured this plague on their businesses and homes. In many cases, these homeowners are 2 to 3 and 4,000 feet from the existing quarry. In Mr. Bell's case, if you remember his testimony, he's 8,000 feet from the quarry and still sustain damage. So if you're looking for expert witnesses, how about the folks that have lived with this quarry? They know how far the distance needs to be. The proper way to attenuate any of these issues, noise, dust, the vibration, if there's a better system than moving the source further away from homes, nobody's come up with it yet. The distance is the only thing that will attenuate these issues. You can't build a building around it. It'd be great if you could, but that's out of the question. And so distance is the only way that we can fix this issue. Now, these citizens we're talking about that live down there, they're subjected, because their neighborhood is closer, we looked at it, it looks like they're from 1,000 to 4,000 feet. If you look at their distance from the blasting currently there, 1,000 to 4,000 feet. they're having to live with issues there that their counterparts, subdivisions 2 miles down the road, don't have to live with. Now, that's not fair to them or to any of the rest of the citizens that are having to live next to an operation of this type. If you want to talk about a buffer that is in place, let's look at Douglas County's buffer. Now, as we know, Douglas County is less densely populated than the city. They have a 4,000-foot buffer between a rock quarry and an existing residential structure, 4,000 feet. It only makes sense that the city would have a buffer equal to or perhaps greater than what the county does. I don't see how the city could possibly take a stand that a 100-foot buffer is sufficient. We've heard too much evidence to the contrary. Now, I'm fairly certain, and I'm not sure if we're going to have rebuttal in this meeting. I'm assuming we did. We haven't passed. But here's what I would like to say. I know this is going to come up. Excuse me. I know that you're going to hear, we already have, that these 5,000 buffers will result in a taking of the subject property. I want to remind you that these buffers only apply with a special land use permit. That property is currently zoned heavy industrial, and there's hundreds of uses under heavy industrial for that property as it exists right now. I sent a map in today. I hope that y'all have. Do y'all have a map? It would look like this. Y'all have that in your packet? I hope that you do. If you don't, here's my point. Here's where I was going with that. This is simply a satellite map showing the subject property here and the surrounding developments. We've got light industrial on the southeast corner down here. We've got Mr. Chandler's cattle farm in the upper northeast corner. The red line on the left-hand side on the western edge is Mr. Van Sant's access and all of his friends, family that live there. And so the subject property is right in the middle of this. And if you look at this picture and compare it around, there's no significant difference between the subject property that we're talking about here and the property that's all the way around it that's developed in other ways. So, if you're trying to say here that, I would say this, any of these property owners in this map here could start a rock quarry with the rock they've got under their property, under their soil. Heck, Mr. Bell, over a mile away, he could have a rock quarry at his place, but they've chosen to develop it in other ways. Now, I'm not suggesting that there is absolutely no cap rock out there. I'm not saying you're going to go out there and you're not going to find any rock. You certainly are. But here's a couple of things that I'd like to share with you about what I do know about this property. When Mr. Blankenship first purchased this property back, I think it was about 2002, it had a good growth of old stand timber on it. The guys that hunted and tramped that thing talked about the huge oak trees, 36 inches in diameter, 100 feet tall. Well, if you've ever been to the mountains where trees are growing in a rocky soil, you know that a tree that's growing right there with the rocks on the surface is stunted and gnarled. For a tree to get that big, take that many years, it has to have water. An arborist told me that a tree that size requires 200 gallons of water a day. Think about that, 55-gallon drums of water a day. You simply can't have access to that type of water if the rocks are right up there next to the top of the soil. You got to have some depth. Plus, if a tree's 100 feet tall, all that weight suspended up there, when the ground's soft and when the wind's blowing, it's got to have a good taproot and a root system, or it's not going to stand there for 100 years. So the point I'm trying to make is that property is not all that different from the property that's around it. It couldn't have those trees on it. Another thing that I'm aware of that you may not be, one of our more successful businessmen, and I'm not going to mention his name because I didn't call and ask him if I could, but he told me about this it's probably a year or so ago. He had agreed to buy this property, the tract that Mr. Blankenship ended up with. He had agreed to a purchase price on this whole property. He had plans to put some warehousing. He was going to put perhaps a manufacturing building on there, as well as build him a house, a pavilion. Beautiful, beautiful plan. There was one fly in the ointment. He had to have an easement to get to that property. So he goes to another local businessman who owned that property and asked him for an easement. Well, this businessman went straight to the landowner, made a much larger offer, and bought it out from under him. Now, later on, this businessman, he came, I think it was in 2000, and tried to put a rock quarry in there as well. But now here's the point I'm making. Had it not been for that easement issue, this property that we're discussing would already be developed in a different method, and we wouldn't be having this discussion. So to say that if I can't have a rock quarry, you're taking my property, I just don't see it. This property can be developed just like the property around it. I'd ask that you would choose the health and the safety of our citizens over the desire of one landowner to put all of his neighbors at risk and harm to secure a few extra dollars. Our city zoning standards are probably 20 years behind, and I commend you for having made the effort, the decision to hire Jacobs to straighten this out. That was the right thing to do. It needed to be done. And you know, the guys at Jacobs looked at this proposal. They looked at this language. If they hadn't liked it, they would have rejected it. They wouldn't have presented it to you. They did present it to you. And so I remember an old buddy of mine, he's gone now, but a wise old man. He was probably in his 70s, and I'm in my 30s, and he's offering me some advice. And at this long distance, I don't remember exactly what the advice was, but I'll sure remember his analogy. Here's what he said. He said, if you're going to go the trouble to hire an attorney, he said, it wouldn't make sense not to take his advice. And so that would be my analogy to you. If it's a good thing to hire these guys to help you make the changes, it wouldn't make much sense not to take their advice, would it? And so, again, I want to mention these new buffers, what they would do, in addition to bringing us in line with Douglas County, where Douglas County is. They're a 4,000-foot buffer. They move us into the 21st century. When that old quarry was put there wasn't anything for 2 miles. Thornton Chevrolet was right there 1 block west of the old courthouse. There just wasn't anything else down through there. So, no, the city didn't have a buffer back then, but that kind of took care of itself. Well, we need to move forward. All that's changed. You got Highway 5, you got the connector, you got I-20, you got the hotels and motels. It's changed. It's time to update it. I would urge you, respectfully, to move forward with the proposal that has already been approved by the City Zoning and Planning Board and was sent back to you for final approval. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all's patience. I know this is an important decision for everybody concerned, and it means a lot to us that you're willing to listen to what we have to say and make a good decision. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Shipley. Do we have anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed ordinances?
I'm Dr. Sharon Williams, Board President of Hammock Lake Homeowners Association. And to the Honorable Mayor Robinson and distinguished council members, I'd just like to—
Address for the record, ma'am?
Your address, please.
Name and address.
Sorry. Address for the Hammock Lake mailing address is Post Office Box 1271, Douglasville, 30133.
Thank you.
I'd like to, first of all, thank Mr. Shipley for taking up our cause. We have had representation here since November. We didn't get a chance to speak until last week. There are still some homeowners that are present at this time, but I'd like to just put some faces with all has been said over the last several months. So I do have a letter. I'd just like to read that, and if I have time, I will add some additional. On behalf of the property owners of Hammock Lake Homeowners Association, Inc., I would like to address the areas of concern we have as residents of this community. The Hamrick Lake subdivision is comprised of 57 lots, 45 homes, located less than 5,000 feet from an existing rock quarry. The tremors as a result of the blasting from the existing quarry has already caused damage to several homes in the northwest side of our community. Many of the homeowners bought into this community without knowledge of a rock quarry close by. If another crushing facility is allowed to build at the proposed site, our subdivision will be sandwiched in between the two quarries, and homeowners could possibly suffer damage that is more extensive to their properties. We're not opposed to businesses coming into Douglasville, but we are opposed to businesses thriving at the expense of the current residents. It is my understanding that zoning laws are in place to protect the homeowners of any given community and not to protect new business owners at the demise of property values and stability to the current residents. We feel that our subdivision will suffer the greatest loss because of the proximity of another crushing facility being approved in this area. That being said, no buffer, 100 foot, 500 feet, 1,000 feet, 5,000 feet, 10,000 feet will never be enough to appease the homeowners who have properties whose properties have been damaged from consistent vibrations when no recourse of action is available to them. Finally, the nuisance of the crushing facility will disrupt the peaceful existence of all residents in our community. The constant noise of the facility, the dust being carried in the air, and the unsettling vibrations will cause a continued disruption to our daily lives. We bought homes in the Hamrick Lake subdivision because of the peace and tranquility, safety and security, and growth potential for the betterment of the community at large. The Hamrick Lake Homeowners Association is asking the Douglasville City Council to vote down the application for a new rock crushing facility in our community. Thank you for your time. Please consider our request.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Madam Clerk, how many minutes do we have left for the pro side? Okay, thank you. Ma'am, say your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. My name is Phyllis Mitchell, and I live at 6133 Locklear Way in the Hamrick Lake subdivision. And I, too, for the sake of time, have prepared a letter that I'll read because I can get a little chatty, okay? Greetings, Honorable Mayor Robinson and distinguished council members. I reside in Douglasville. I've given you my address. As the sitting chair for the Hamrick Lake Architectural Control Committee, I appear before you this evening. As stated by our board president, we are a community of 57 properties, primarily comprised of families. Of the 57 properties, more than half currently back to the currently existing rock quarry, which has less than a 4,000-foot buffer. As you've heard from several of our residents and homeowners, even with that small of a buffer, homeowners continue to report damage to the foundation of their homes. As a result, we have had contractors to require owners to sign a waiver in order to have work completed on their property. We have even had contractors to indicate, because of the volatility of the neighboring rock quarry, the proposed work will not be warranted. I can say to you without a doubt in my mind, a 5,000-foot buffer is minimal and a reasonable request for such a land disturbance activity. Should you believe less is reasonable, we ask that you have the company establish a set-aside fund to cover any future damage to Hamrick Lake homeowners. Again, another reasonable request. And they agreed to absorb any and all expense of an engineer to come out and assess any alleged damages caused by their operations. While I do not claim to be a seismologist or a geophysicist, I do recognize the devastating harm a particular type of land disturbance, big business activity can have on a home values in our community. We do currently suffer from tremors, noise pollution, and dust clouds. This new facility would only add to that problem. Therefore, we ask that our pleas do not fall on deaf ears, and you require nothing less than a 5,000-foot buffer for this incoming activity.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jack Baggett, 8570 in the Mountain Court, Villa Rica, Georgia. We have 6 buildings will be joining that rock quarry. It was built over a rock, a solid foundation. I went through all kind of rules and regulations to build that building there. A rock quarry should not be in the city of Douglasville. The city of Douglasville is built over an underground lake. The pioneers built this city. They had to have wells and water. And them property out there, it don't take a rocket science to know it will destroy it. I cannot understand. We have to abide by all these rules and regulations. I built those buildings at that Baggett subdivision. It's over solid rock, like I said. I was in the Korean War in the mine division. I know what blasting will do. These people out here own property. They have a right to protect the value of their property. And we should uphold them. We the people, of the government of the people, by the people. Why do we allow somebody to come in here and destroy what we work for? I've been a real estate broker, I've been an appraiser. I started first school auctioneer in Georgia, even though I was here at Imperative. I didn't give up, I worked. I worked for everything I got. And now they already on the side of there is a rock quarry. Also, they got a garbage dump built over a battery acid cesspool. We have to inhale that dust and all of that. I was out there one day on the block and they went to blasting. I thought he was going to shake me off the block. When they started blasting one time, I ate a parcel of butter beans the night before. I lost 5 pounds in 5 minutes. I cannot stand any more of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any additional comments?
My name is Dwayne Groover, 6904 North Baggett Road. Most of you know my story. My family and I have a business on South Flat Rock Road. We're in the metal fab business, specializing in laser cutting. Some of you have been out there and seen the machine. You know, well, I can first say that I am an expert in writing checks for repairs, and that's a fact. So all this has been going on for a year and a half. Our business is on hold. We did have an offer from Mr. Boyd, which was a good offer, but it wasn't enough for us to move, so it would have put us out of business. So we can't. Now we can't grow because we're on hold. We're more likely going to be on hold for another 2 or 3 years through litigation. I've got a new machine that's been on order. It's sitting on hold. They can't bring it in. They're not going to give me a warranty on it because of the vibrations, because I've messed up and told them I was close to a rock quarry. So I'm asking you to please vote for the new boundaries, just like what Douglas County's got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any additional comments?
My name is Anton Gox, and I reside at 2540 Hammock Road in Douglasville. My family has resided at that address for 10 years now. Honorable Mayor, City Council, members, good evening. I will attempt to be brief. With regard to the agenda item in front of us, the new information with which I appear before you and your fellow citizens is in the form of a question. As you may already be aware, I and my neighbors in the Hammock Lake subdivision reside between roughly 1,000 and 2,000 feet from the rock quarry now operated by Martin Marietta, Inc., formerly Bluegrass Materials. This quarry operation can be seen in currently available satellite photos as being over the Hammock Lake subdivision's southeastern tree line and dwarfs our community several times over. In our previous meetings and comments entered into the record, comments describing the, for want of a better term, seismological events, however brief, which shake our homes and rattle our windows from foundation to roof, I posed the question, and I posed them as someone who once made a living in construction and believes such operations are necessary. Who among the proponents that passionately defended maintaining a home next to an operation that dwarfs our subdivision a number of times over, that blasts by day and shovels and conveys throughout the night, who among them now lives next to a quarry, has ever lived next to one, and would they immediately seek to live next to one, for how long? In those prior comments, I had made no mention of possibly hazardous airborne material that might result from a new, benignly named portable crush and run facility, one which would sandwich our community between it and the quarry with which we have uncomfortably coexisted for all these years. Others who live downwind of that quarry and who might spend more time outdoors to keep their vehicles outdoors are better able to describe their experience with airborne dust, and they have. The question I now pose is this: can any of those same proponents guarantee that when the new so-called crush facility is operational, that our homes in Hammock Lake that shake and rumble will not shake and rumble any more than they do, that we will not have to be any more diligently observant of every crack in our sidewalks, walls, and foundations than we already are, and that we do not have to recover from sudden shocks with an instant realization that, well, there goes another one, they're at it again, any more than we do now. The new information couched in that question is a now firm suspicion that the answer to that question is no. And if it is no, then the honorable members of this council have a sworn duty to take any legislative action to ensure that either that answer becomes yes, safety of life and property, and even event-free operations can be guaranteed, or prohibit a new facility altogether. As long as we have to live next to these facilities, our interests, as well as those of these facilities' investors, must be protected. And I have to bring to your attention also, at the request of my wife and I believe several other members of the community, that the gas station owner, there's a Citgo on the corner of Highway 5 and 78, and he is reported as his establishment shaking periodically. With the little time I have left, I just want to comment that this is the second time or the third time in several weeks I'm appearing before this distinguished council. It's becoming harder, I have to say, coming on for the reasons why I have to show up downtown to my employers. I'm on call. I have a 24/7 job. I hope this can come to some kind of an equitable resolution soon. Thank you, and may God bless our venerable city and its council. May you continue acting with wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any time left on the pro side now? Minute? So just under 2 minutes left, if anybody would like to fill the final 2 minutes. If not, all right. No, we have one taker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'll be brief. Beth Johnson, 8940 Rose Avenue, Douglasville, Georgia. And I'm speaking tonight on behalf of residents that live next to Vulcan Materials. They have affidavits signed, and I'd like to read what they've said. I live several hundred yards from the Lithia Springs Rock Quarry Vulcan Materials, 7620 County Line Road. My family members also live next to this quarry operation. This has been our home since the early 50s, third and fourth generations. Our homes were here before the quarry came. Once the quarry came, it totally changed our quality of life. Our houses are shaken from the quarry blasting, and the dust is extremely harmful. Once a quarry comes, it's there for generations. Please protect your community and not allow another quarry. Thank you. And I will read the signatures of these affidavits. Gladys Birdsong Strickland, 956 North County Line Road, and she also says, she now has asthma for over 6 months, and her uncle, Leon Birdsong, has asthma well over 5 years. Our health issues are increasing because of the Vulcan Quarry. Lee and Tammy Freeman, 986 County Line Road, Lithia Springs, Georgia. Edward Wiley, 7282 North County Line Road, Lithia Springs, Georgia. Pauline Levette Hill, 7344 North County Line Road. And I also have another affidavit from a gentleman on North Baggett Road that the blasting shook the car in the jack when he was out working on his car, and it scared him to death, and it could have been worse next time, and I'll present these to the clerk. But on behalf of those residents that could not be here, they wanted me to ask you respectfully to approve the 5,000-foot buffer for future residents in the community, because they have had to suffer all these many, many years with living this close to a quarry. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I guess that closes the pro portion of the discussion. Are there any other additional comments or remarks from City Council on this issue?
Mr. Vice Chair, I was just clearing up something in my own head. So the alternate won't even get voted on to even potentially go to the zoning board until Monday, but we could potentially vote on the ordinance before us tonight.
I was going to ask council to clarify, just to make sure that everybody is on the same page. That my understanding, I want to make sure I understand this. On Monday, we have the capability of first removing item A from the table and then voting to approve or deny that ordinance, and or we have the opportunity for item B to remove that from the table and then vote or deny referring it to the zoning board.
Yes.
Okay. Make sure everybody understands what the options are for Monday.
One last question, Mr. Vice Chair. So the alternate goes before the zoning board. Are they then choosing between the one that they've already approved and the alternate, or could they potentially send both back to us and tell us to choose?
Well, they've already, I understand, the first one has already been gone through that process.
I'm talking about the alternate. If it goes before them, do they have to approve that one and?
They can send them both back to you.
Okay.
They don't have to dismiss one or two.
Okay, that answers my question. All right, thank you.
They can take no action for that matter. I mean, but in any event, they don't have to reject the first one and get the second one too.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair, for clarity, the first ordinance does have a distance of 3,000 feet between lots used for quarries and mining, and the second alternate item doesn't mention mining or quarries. And of course, this is a portable rock crushing facility, not a quarry that we've been talking about. With the particular, not that it's just for now. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any additional discussion or comments?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair. When was the last time, and this is a question for staff, I guess, when was the last time we had dealt with a quarry issue on this area?
I want to say it was around 1999 or perhaps the early 2000s.
So this zoning that we currently have has been out there for more than 20 years?
Yes.
I guess my curiosity is stoked that why, if this thing was so bad, if the quarry was so bad, why didn't we take any action after that application failed to secure that, or to prohibit that such use on that property? I wasn't around, so.
Any of us were at that point, but.
I mean, we may not.
I was around.
Oh, Mr. Dodson. Okay, Mr. Dodson.
For better or for worse. Now, there have been 3 separate pieces of litigation concerning the quarry. I'm unaware that anybody that's owned that property since the early 90s, when a gentleman named Touche acquired it, has tried to do anything but get it zoned for a quarry. And as we've discussed before, it takes a special land use permit, and the city council had some discretion in looking at various factors. I'm unaware that any council member or citizen has attempted to change the ordinance to effectuate the boundaries that have now been proposed prior to now.
My overall concern is for the citizens of Douglasville and Douglas County. And I really wish the timing of this proposed ordinance was not in the middle of a lawsuit or a renewal time of the lawsuit, especially when it looks like these proposed changes specifically target the applicant. I'm very concerned. I know our insurance, covers certain portions of litigation, but I don't see how any reasonable person would not figure that us trying to enact this ordinance during the application process or during the legal process to follow, and then have this city specifically change the ordinance to prohibit the use prescribed under the application. That concerns me from a legal standpoint. I wish we would have had this issue come up before now, or after all of this is over with, but during the middle of this application to subsequent litigation, I'm very concerned on behalf of the city for, our actions that prohibit the specific use applied for. So as much as I hate that, we've got to face and recognize that is, who's going to be looking at this? A judge, a jury? Who's going to think it's, how could you not think it's prohibitive? That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Miller. Anyone else? All right. Well, I guess then there are no other items no other conversation or discussion regarding those 2 items. We'll move on to item C, which is to consider a request for revised plat approval for the view at Cedar Mountain for the purpose of adjusting boundary lines for lots 5 and 6 for 0.78 acres at 7475 and 7477 Sydney Court in land lot 223, District 2, Section 5, parcels 178 and 179, application by Aaron McCullough, Hughes Ray Company.
Good evening, Aaron McCullough, address 6554 East Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for hearing our request. We have a revised final plat for lots 5 and 6 in the View at Cedar Mountain subdivision. This is to reconfigure 2 cul-de-sac lots on Sydney Court. Previously, this development sat undeveloped for about 10 or 12 years. When it was platted that time ago, there was an existing house on lot 5. During the recession, that house fell into disrepair. That house has been demolished. A new owner has purchased these lots, 34 lots, I believe, in this development, and we are asking to reconfigure these 2 lots to be more amenable and provide a more normal configuration of these lots.
Any questions or comments from mayor or council?
Thank you.
Seems pretty straightforward. Any comments or questions from the public? Okay. Hearing none, we will vote on this matter, I guess, on Monday, and as we will vote on items A and B as well. I think that's all we have under planning development. Thank you, Madam Mayor. No further items.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chair. Handled very well. We'll move on to item 8, which is Parks and Recreation Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item tonight. Item A, authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with John Pearson to provide security services at city parks for a 12-month period beginning July 1st, 2018. It's my understanding, Mayor and Council, that we will take this up for discussion at the 5 o'clock meeting on Monday. Mr. Pearson's not really here tonight. So with that being said, unless we have any questions for Mr. Landrum, we'll just take this up in committee on Monday. Anybody have any questions about this?
My general question, Mr. Chairman, is I thought when we discussed this last year, we had talked to the police department about providing security for the parks. Is that not an option anymore? We're just...
Well, I think if I remember correctly, last year after weighing the pros and cons of that and hearing from Chief on that and the problems that might present to that at the time we ended up voting for Mr. Pearson another year.
So this would go to the next year, wouldn't it?
Ma'am?
I'm trying to see if this would appear beginning July. So this would be for the next year. So
Yes, ma'am.
so last year we said there were some issues that we would consider and bring before the council for the 2018 year. Now we're going back to the, you know what I'm saying? Like we were supposed to bring some options, issues that were prohibited from last year, but then we were supposed to come back and present an option.
Mayor, we're not in a position to be able to staff security at the park system. We still are understaffed at the police department. We still have some vacancies to fill, so we will not be in a position to be able to support having officers at the parks.
Okay, well, that's good. I just wanted an answer. I know that we did consider it, and we said we would come back and review it at this time, but I didn't see any other options outside of Mr. Pearson. So
Yes,
we'll
ma'am.
review the contract and discuss it Monday in committee and vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. That's all we had tonight under Parks and Recreation.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to Finance Committee. Vice Chair is Mayor Pro Tem Richard Siegel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We don't have any business tonight, but I'd like to remind everybody that on Monday at 5:30 p.m. in this very room, we will have a public hearing on the fiscal year 2019 budget. So that'll occur in between our committee meetings and our 6 o'clock regular voting meeting right here, and we hope to have lots of citizens show up and weigh in on the budget. No other items tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chair for Finance Committee. We'll move on to Information Technology Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no items under Information Technology Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Miller T. Maintenance and Sanitation Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mike Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item tonight, and that is A, to authorize the Maintenance and Sanitation Department to advertise for bids to construct the new maintenance and sanitation facility. I think this is going to be on our Monday night committee meeting, so I just ask for us to hold questions and comments until we're ready to answer those. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to Transportation Committee. The Vice Chair is Councilmember Mike Miller.
We have no business tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chair. Personal Organization Committee, that's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Richard Siegel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No business tonight.
Thank you, sir. Ordinance and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mike Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight.
Thank you, sir. Education and Training Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Madam Mayor, no business tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Communications Committee, also chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to other business. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We heard from April McCown earlier talking about Monday, Food Truck Mondays, but also tomorrow on Friday, June 1st, is Food Truck Fridays down in Lithia Springs, actually Ward 5, the city of Douglasville, in the parking lot of Mercer University from 11 to 2. That's every other Friday during the summer, and that means tomorrow is one of them. There'll be another one 2 weeks later through September. So if you're available, come on out. And then also this weekend, I don't know if city manager is going to mention this in her report, but we've got the Hydrangea Festival here in Douglasville at the courthouse and other places throughout the city. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I was going to talk about the hydrangea, so you brought it up. That's good. City Attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson.
No business, Madam.
Thank you, sir. Chief Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Susan Littlefield.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief of Police, Chief Gary Sparks.
No business, Madam Mayor, but we did do our DCOP program over in the Slater Mills subdivision, and over there was very welcoming of the police department to come by, and we just meeting the citizens at home. So we'll be coming to other subdivisions and apartment complex, so we'll be coming knocking on your doors. And just to say hello, don't get alarmed. We just community building. That's all we're doing.
Yes, sir. How was the social media conference you attended?
Oh, it was great, and we getting more into what they call the the conference SMILE.
Smile.
Social media and law enforcement, and we're doing a lot of it presently. But one of the things that we're going to get into more is getting out in front of the stories and telling our brand of what our police department is doing for the citizens here. We're going to get back into doing more PSAs for our citizens. We used to do a few of them, so we're going to get doing that more. So it was a great opportunity to get down to see what other agencies throughout the country were doing, and we right online. We're on point. There's a few things we're going to tweak, but we right there with them.
Good. Thank you so much, Chief, and welcome back. Our City Manager, Ms. Marsha Hampton.
Yes, ma'am. Just to remind you of what our Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, your budget hearings will be at 5:30 on Monday. So if you would come out, the draft budget that was presented to you all last week will be presented to the public. If you all have any changes from what was discussed last week, please let us know as soon as possible. But what changes we left with, those are what you will see on Monday night.
Thank you so much, City Manager. Before I go to comments from citizens and delegates, we do have a dignitary in the audience, our Executive Director for the Water and Sewer Authority for Douglasville, Douglas County, Gil Sherrouse. You want to say anything, Gil? Thanks for coming. Good to see you. Okay, now is the opportunity for comments from citizens and delegates. If there's any citizen that remains in the audience and would like to address us, we welcome you to come to the podium. Please give us your name and address for the record, and the floor is open, and we're happy to hear from you. It's going to take him some time, Mr. Brandon. It's a blessing to see you. And Beanie, Henry Mitchell IV, not Beanie.
Good afternoon, City Council and Madam Mayor.
Good
My name is Brandon Penniman. I reside with the O, Penniman with an O. I reside at 1082 Abington Court, Douglasville, Georgia, which is one street outside of the city. So I actually reside in the county, but I am very appreciative of the City Council and all that you guys do for Douglasville. I'm Henry Mitchell IV. I guess my name's not gonna pop up there. I'm Henry Mitchell IV, 7755 Mountain Creek Way, Douglasville, Georgia, Willow Bend. So as you guys know, me and Henry are current Douglasville and Douglas County residents and lifelong Douglasville and Douglas County residents. And so as we've come back from college and come back to our neighborhood, we just look to continue to better Douglas County and Douglasville. So we started a group called Black Diamonds where we look to actively engage our community.
And the way that we do that is by understanding the simple concept that preparation is key to performance. And so we look to help our young people to be prepared to go back to school. So each year we host an event called Unity in the Community. This event was actually founded and started by Commissioner Henry Mitchell and some of the local pastors in Douglasville, and now they've passed the torch on to us to continue that legacy and continue to work to make our city and county better. So just some quick background on what we have been able to accomplish in the last years that we've done this event. Last year we were able to service over 250 community members with free food and free resources, and we were also able to collect over 800 book bags. We were a little short of our goal of 1,200 school supply filled book bags, but this year we are working our hardest to be able to accomplish that goal. So we do try to have this be a free event for the community, but of course we all know that the caveat with having a free event is that it costs money to have a free event. And so that's where we've come today to request you guys with some financial assistance from the city and partnership from the city to help us to be able to host this event. Our current budget is $1,500 to be able to have this event for absolutely free and provide free food. We're asking for a donation of $500 from the city of Douglasville. That donation will go towards things such as staging, audiovisual aesthetics, food, jump houses, and then other props and things that we need for our lip sync battle. So we're asking for a donation of $500 and or school supply filled book bags.
And aside from you guys' support, we would like to thank the two council members that came out the last time, Madam Chair and Councilman or LaShawn Danley. They participated in the lip sync battle. They did a great job. They just didn't come on with the W.
I know, the district attorney won.
Yes, the DA won. So this year we want more of you guys to try to get the city council to win this year. Not saying we're going for you guys, but you know, we're rooting. We would like to have a big police presence as well. We want you guys to get the lip sync battle as well. We talked to Chief outside, and he said he's going to be the first one to actually grab the mic. So we can't wait to see that. And it's also right down the street, well, right down the street from your barbershop, Sam. It's in your ward as well. So we would definitely love your services. And if you want to help out being a DJ, you know, we'll love that as well.
July 14th.
July 14th. That's it. So cancel your. And again, we just want to give people a chance to see you guys in a different light, and so we can kind of get more connected with the community, with the police community as well, just to kind of show you guys have fun as well as you do your job for us.
So overall, as we stated, our biggest thing is we just would like for you guys to support what we're doing and continue to be a part of making our community better day by day. We know that there's a lot of development going on the north side, and we know that there are also problems on the north side, but our biggest thing is not to be reactive, but instead to be proactive, to work to make sure that our kids are going to school prepared so that way they can be good citizens and then come back like we are and continue to help the neighborhood and create programs that like we have. So aside from that, we do have some flyers that have some information for you guys to take and look at, but we would love your support of this event, the Unity in the Community Book Bag Drive.
And again, we say thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Penniman and Mr. Mitchell, it's July 14th at times, and the days are still at St. James AME Church on Highway 92.
Yeah, it's from 12 noon to 3 p.m. And that'll we'll have free food, bounce houses, and resource tables for people to just learn about different resources that we have in the community.
Okay, and of course, you know, the policy to go through the city manager, do a request, a letter, and all of that, and it'll come back to us.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Guys.
Good to see you all. Any comments?
Mr. Penniman, will you be healed enough by then to jump around in the jumpy house?
I'm not sure if I'll be walking. I have 10 weeks to be on these crutches, but I will definitely be out there on the microphone. If I have to be in a roll-around chair, then so be it, but I will not let this little accident hold me back. It's actually this accident is actually just motivation to me that Douglas County is definitely in need of the Highway 92 expansion project. My accident happened on Highway 92, and it was because someone slammed on brakes in front of me trying to take a left into a neighborhood, and there was no room to move. So I know that this extra lane will stop many of those accidents that have happened there that have actually killed people in the past. So I'm excited about what's going on in Douglas County and Douglasville, so I'm definitely going to be there. Crutches or not, I will be there, hobbling around, one limp at a time.
And we're asking you guys donate a wheelchair July 14th.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Any comments from council members? And thank you all so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? You all have anything to say? Okay. We'll move on to staff reports. Any staff reports? There is an executive session. I open the floor to adjourn into executive session to discuss pending potential litigation with legal counsel.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss pending or potential litigation with legal counsel.
Thank you. I have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. All in favor of adjourning into executive session to discuss pending litigation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned into executive session.